On me. It is 5:31 on November 9th, and we will call the City of Clovis largest tax meeting to order. Can we start with a roll call?
Thomas Martin,
Here.
Freddie Bryant,
Here.
Jess Reyes. Here. LaShawna.
Here.
Gail Tarson,
Here.
Commissioner Garza.
Here.
Okay.
Thanks, Leanne. We are going to start with the approval of minutes from the last meeting that was on September 14th. I know everybody read them all as soon as you got them. Are there any corrections that we saw? I know, Gail, you're exempt.
I did read them, though.
Fun. If no one has any corrections or changes, can I see, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll get a motion approved.
Freddie with the first motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
LaShawna with the second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Looks like this motion is carried. And then before we start the reviewing of the application, Kelsey is going to present the new city logo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and go ahead, Kelsey, but wanted to give all the applicants a chance to see the new City of Clovis logo that was approved by the City Commission at our last City Commission meeting, and we will make sure that we get it out to all of the applicants to start using as part of our overall, as part of your advertising. So, thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kelsey Knight. I am the city's marketing, communication, and grant coordinator. And for the past few years, the Clovis community has undergone a branding initiative, and the city has jumped on board with that, and we are about to launch a new logo for the city of Clovis. So rather than using our city seal for everything, we will now have a separate logo to use. So I wanted to just take a few moments of your time to explain the background of how we ended up with this logo. So if you would go, Steve, for me. So in 2019, we began communication with Once a Day Marketing, who helped us with this entire branding initiative. In December, they actually came to Clovis and did some marketing research. They asked both residents and also military personnel their perceptions of Clovis to give us some insight of what we needed to highlight about what makes our community great. And in March 2020, that report was released, and then the Clovis Action Team formed, which has been responsible for spearheading this branding initiative. So the Clovis Action Team has been made up of several members from the City of Clovis, the Chamber, CIDC, Cannon Air Force Base, as well as local business owners and just general residents that wanted to jump on board. And we had a big task. We had meetings about once a month and really had a lot to brainstorm and kind of come up how we wanted to frame Clovis. So some of our tasks, before that, the Clovis Action Team actually presented at the Lodgers Tax meeting to have $60,000 to help pay Once a Day Marketing to help carry this branding initiative through. And so the Clovis Action Team, CAT for short, had a big task. The first was to come up with the brand promise. So a brand promise is the underlying drive of the brand that's not necessarily public knowledge. It's not something that we advertise, but it is what helps drive the brand. So the brand that we came up with was welcoming all into the Clovis family, inspiring growth with endless opportunities. So part of a brand promise is to capture something that you're already doing, but then also make it inspirational that we want to continue to create endless opportunities and inspire growth in our residents. So once we had the brand promise, then from that point, then you come up with a tagline. This was a very long process. We had several meetings, several ideas. We actually even took it to the public for them to vote on what tagline they liked best. And we ended up coming up with Heartfelt Connections, Endless Horizons. So that helps capture the community with the heartfelt connections, the residents, the passionate people that welcome everyone into the family, and then those endless horizons gives a nod to the endless opportunities that we create, and then also our beautiful sunsets that we have here. So once we had that brand promise and tagline, then we were able to come up with the logo. I think people think, oh, you just come up with a logo and then you move forward, but there's so many things that go into it before you get that visual result. So if you could go to the next one, please. So we did a request for proposal process, interviewed several design firms, and ended up selecting Leighton Moon. They had by far the most experience and had helped other communities brand and do the exact same thing that we were trying to do. They are a design firm out of Alamogordo, and so we worked with them to come up with the Clovis logo. Next one, please. So they actually came to Clovis. I think they had been here once before, but they came on a weekend and just walked around Clovis and observing, mainly in our downtown area. They paid attention to the architecture, just the different subtle design elements that we already have existing in our city, so that they could help mimic that in our logo so that it would really describe Clovis. So they paid attention to, the architectural elements, the parallel lines to mimic our railroad, and then they also wanted the logo to be red, white, and blue, but also just a little bit different. So the logo that they came up with is this, which I think is quite beautiful. The colors, it's not so red, white, and blue. It's just a little bit off, which is a nice touch. You can see at the top, the sort of swirls represent several architecture that we have downtown that you had seen in the previous slide. And then the parallel lines help express the railroad history that we have here, and the dot in the middle are beautiful sunsets. So this was the logo that the Clovis Action team selected for the community. And this logo is really for all community members to use. So mimic it in your business, use the color scheme that goes along with it. And so if you would go to the next one for me, the color scheme is quite beautiful. So the city of Clovis, definitely, we've been involved in this whole process, and we wanted to jump on board as well, but for us as an organization, we wanted to make it just slightly different to make us stand apart from just, the rest of the community, so that when you have communication from the city of Clovis, or we're pushing something out, that it's coming from the city. So we worked with Leighton Moon again, and we came up with, drum roll. Thank you. Go to the next one, please. So we came up with this logo. So it seems simple, the just addition of city of, and just moving the design on top slightly over, but Leighton Moon had, I think they said 20 different replicas of this, and then we decided on this one. It is very aligned with what the community brand is, but again, it helps Clovis, the city, stand apart just slightly in our communication. So if you go to the next one, me. So the purpose of this logo is really for us to reserve our city seal for those official communications from the mayor, from the city commission, those very official messages that we want to get out. For the rest of our communication in our marketing, on our website, our social media, general press releases that the city releases, we will use our logo for that. So part of this will be for the individuals and organizations that receive lodgers tax funds. They will no longer use our city seal, they will use our logo. So we will work with the recipients as well as our local design firms to make sure everyone has this. There's also different versions of this depending on what advertising material they have. There's an all black version, an all white version. And so that's something that we will definitely partner with in making this subtle shift to using this logo instead. So, any questions?
What are the fines going to be if they do not use the logo?
Not getting reimbursed.
They will not get reimbursed.
Just a gentle reminder. No, I think it looks great. I really like it. Thank you for centering the
I, the dot.
dot over the I.
Yes.
I like it. Or
Yes.
maybe just a little bit off center would have been really catchy. No, it looks cool. Thanks,
It
Kelsey.
looks really
I
nice.
like it.
Thank
Looks
you.
nice.
Thank you.
And so to all the applicants, we do have the brand guide that is available to them, so we'll get that to you as well, so.
Downloadable off the city's website. How do we get like a soft copy?
When they do Vicky sends out the applications,
Yeah.
the final notice of their award, that might be a good time, and then they'll have it then.
Yep, so we'll get it to them.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to begin the review of applications for the funds, for lodgers tax funds, in the manner that they were submitted to us. And again, we have had the chance to review the applications, so just a quick summary is all we need. If there's anything that you need to say that wasn't isn't on the paperwork, that is perfect. So first up, Jessica, Force of One Fight Championships, number 9. I'm assuming you're representing,
I am.
okay.
He's at one of his veteran buddies' military retirement party in Vegas. So he said to really iterate the retirement part.
So they're
So,
probably
I get
just
to do
catching a
wonderful,
show.
I'm sorry?
You're probably just catching a show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm here just to kind of reapply for the funding that we were awarded already. The 14,400 and the 15,000 that you guys have been so gracious to give us from the fight that we had to cancel from COVID, and then the fight and then our last application, which we postponed until April 23rd. It was supposed to be September 25th, but we've decided to postpone it just to be mindful and respectful to our sponsors' dollars, not to drop it on lodgers tax that we were postponing a week out. So the Delta virus hit our community pretty hard, and some of our fighters were experiencing the same in their towns and weren't able to travel already. So Eric decided it was best to postpone that fight. So we are having to reapply for the same funds. Now, I did submit a new application just because we've added a few line items, and then I wanted to delete one because I messed up. So we added Cannon Air Force Base marketing, which is Joelle's going to put us in the magazine, on the scrolling ads, the closed circuit TV, and on Canon.com. We've also added the T-shirts, as well as Eric's added a couple more of the fighter trophy belts. And then we upped the budget on all the marketing because we will start in January and go for a 4-month period instead of a 2-month period, which is what we initially had applied for when you awarded us before. The Amazon line where it says Amazon prizes 3,000, that goes away. I'm sorry, that was needed to be deleted. So that's really it. I mean, unless y'all have questions, the fight is still the same plan as it was before at the event center. And we've had the CHS wrestling team is a new addition to our Clovis school district. And Eric's been working with them. I've been working with them. They'll be auctioning off a table at their big kickoff event in a couple weeks. So that will be a good feeder program for from Eric's gym on into our high schools, as well as right back for professional MMA. So that's a fun new addition that we're kind of joining forces with. So
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions from the board?
No questions.
I do.
yes.
My only question I ask this every time to every applicant is, this has been several years in the consistent going, and you got attendance of 3,500 here. So based on past experience, have you guys gathered information to know how many or what percentage of those do come in from outside?
We have, just from our, no, not exact data. We have not.
you
The,
have
most, we have probably, I would say, because we've got 12 fights times usually we have 12 to 16 fights he has scheduled. So those fighters, the opponent's always from out of town. And plus they're trainers. So, I mean, I would say 200 of them are people that Eric's putting in hotels or responsible for in some way. That doesn't include attendance that come, their families and whatnot that we're not aware of. So that's the state fight commission, the fighters that he boards, as well as their trainers and coaches and the rest of their team.
Okay, thanks, Jessica.
Outside of that, I don't know the real data, so.
No other questions?
And Chairman, the T-shirts
Yes, ma'am,
are for,
the public.
For sale or for?
No,
Okay.
no, we're gonna give those away.
My question, and it was maybe to start with Leanne, but the carryover or the balance that we have, are they able to carry over the 29.4 previous?
it's the decision
That's,
of,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so,
I didn't know if it had been put back in.
no, we've not reverted it back yet at
Okay.
this point. We did carry over the original 15,000, obviously due to COVID. Then they requested the additional funds so they could advertise and have a really big event. And now they're asking for an additional $11,900
Yeah.
to have an even bigger event.
Yeah, so that was
And
my,
so-
my concern is looking back on, or I guess question is looking back on previous awarding amounts, is that we, got up to 10,000, then 15,000, then 15,000 again roughly to make it big, and now we're doing another 12,000 to make it really, really big. And when we look at, sorry, I just misplaced the number. Was it 3,500 that has been attendance? How does that compare to previous attendances prior to COVID?
Well, the previous attendance, we were at the Civic Center, so we were capped at like 900, 800, something like that. And then the attendance at the event center the year just before COVID was like 1,600, so.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, so for y'all's consideration this evening is basically the 2020 amount, the 2021 amount, plus the additional amounts that's requested within this application.
The carryover.
We figured that since the event has not happened, that's why we requested that Jessica and Force One come back and basically reapply.
Yeah, I think my only thought is, or if you can give any insight into a total marketing cost of almost, a little over 40,000 versus what is that
So,
what is
well,
that going to give you that?
2 months more of advertising. Really, that's what it is, what bumps it up so high. Mostly we were concerned about taking the opportunity to be able to give the public T-shirts and include the Cannon Air Force Base marketing. Now, outside of the additional 2 months, we can wane it back into just a 2-month, time frame to start advertising. Since we have that time allotted, like where we can start in January, we can do that if we have the funds. Keep in mind, though, Eric pays for all of this out of his pocket, so that's not necessarily, I am instructed to order as we get sponsors, as he has funding to pay for it himself and then get reimbursed. So sometimes we don't reach that high. It just depends on how hard we work before then to pay the bill and then, get reimbursed, so.
So when you were doing 2 months worth of marketing, how much, and again, I don't know if you would know this and it's been a while, but when you start marketing it 2 months, when are ticket sales? When do you see? So
Them
I guess
the peak of
Are they
them?
waiting till the week before? Are they, starting the day that it
They
goes out?
usually wait, from what I've seen, about the highest peak is about 3 weeks out. And then, of course, a couple days beforehand, because we really push hard, and we have a couple things that happen at some of our sponsors where we're pushing with remotes and things like that. So we are still very last minute town. However, we're trying to drive that attendance from out of town, which takes the, ahead of time advertising for people to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it. So to schedule it into their plans, especially if you're from out of town. So that's, yep.
And what is the capacity at max?
At the event center? I think it was like 60, it's like 6,500, something like that. I'm not super sure. I have that in a text message from Casey, but I'm not super sure.
Okay.
Can I jump in real
Yeah,
quick?
go for it.
So the anticipated, this 3,500 is what's anticipated based on 4 months of advertising?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So without the 4 months, you feel like it would still be about that 1,600 at the last?
At least, yes,
Time?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a lot of people anticipating it, just because it's been put off for so long, and because the show, right before COVID hit us, it was so widely, people were over the moon about it, and it was like they were at a real big show, because we were at the event center, and we were really able to put on that kind of big show feel. And so we were just coming off of that and ready to do a fight right away again, and everybody's been shut down. And so MMA is one of the only sports that's been able to carry through COVID and really, continue the sport. Now, it's been very costly to them, but but it's on a professional level. So all these fighters that are local and train hard, and the wrestlers from the wrestling team, they watch, and then their fans, they've been able to watch it pro, but in Australia. So, they are very anticipating it, very much. So.
Anyone else? Nope. Jessica, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Next up, Mrs. Mendoza with the Community College Cultural Arts Series.
Good evening. First of all, I want to say thank you for the money you gave us for the, at the first earlier session. It really helped us with the street festival that we were able to partner with Main Street and many other businesses and government entities to have a wonderful, successful festival on Main Street. And I just wanted to thank you for that. You made it a huge success. This grant is an extension of this earlier grant, and I do want to make one correction. We somehow had a printing mishap, and on page 4, we are asking for $3,060, and it asks for more on lodger's tax funding request on page 4, but you can see the correct amount, and it's all adjusted on page 6, where everything comes to $3,060. So I just wanted to clarify that. We are asking for funding for 4 events starting with Mariachi Christmas and going through the ballet, the Jungle Book in the spring. These 4 events will be at Marshall Auditorium. 2 of the events do have an educational component in which one elementary grade, either the 4th grade or the 5th grade, whichever one the Clovis schools choose, they will all be ushered into Marshall Auditorium, and this entire grade will see a complete performance of either the Jungle Book or of Todd, let me see, Todd and his talking dog. Just a minute here. I keep Todd Oliver and Irving the talking dog. Okay, I want to clarify that one. We may have made a mistake on some of our funding. We may have to come back to you to ask for more money for maybe perhaps the Jungle Book show. And we also will probably come back because in the spring, we would also like to have another event inside the Petty Theater. We opened the Petty Theater on the 21st of this month with our first event, Farewell Angelina. So basically, that is what we are asking for. And if you have any questions, you can see all 4 of the events on our attachment A. And then you can see how it impacts the city of Clovis with attachment B. And that is, do you have any questions for me? That's probably my presentation, because I realize you've all read it. So I'm not going to sit here and repeat things.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Board, any questions?
I'll repeat the question I ask every time is, how many, I know you've done these series for over a period of,
20 years.
yeah, so are you able to track how many come in from outside of Clovis and anticipated for this?
We do our best. I know that Natalie is, who I still work with, she's very good at this. And sometimes it's hard, because as they come into the auditorium at Marshall, we have no idea where they are, but we do hear from different people who've responded to us. And right now, I know we have people from we've had people from Lubbock, from different areas. We really attract a lot of people from the Farwell and the Muleshoe area. We've had people from as far away as Roswell and Clayton come in. But I think what we're going to try and do, because we haven't done this with COVID, we are trying to establish some system where we can somehow have a survey or something where we can actually track the number of people that will be staying in the hotels. But as it is, several of our events that are very large will be using up a large number of hotel rooms. I know Mariachi Christmas, we're looking at probably 18, 19 hotel rooms alone. And also with the Jungle Book, that is another large cast, so they will be utilizing a large number of rooms too. I'm sorry, Irving the talking dog he doesn't get a room. What can I say?
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Within your season ticket holders,
Yes, and this year, we're not pushing season tickets, but we do have a lot of season ticket holders. When we are at Marshall, we are able to give complimentary tickets to various organizations, not only the Clovis schools. We give them about 200 free tickets for just letting us use the auditorium, but we also give large numbers of tickets to every senior center here in town that we can.
do you know within the season ticket holders, I know you're not pushing it, but do you know how many of those are from out of town?
Most of the season ticket holders are local. Okay. I will say that, and our sponsors are local too.
Okay. Anything else, board?
At your last show, you did had a lot of people coming from Albuquerque.
Yes, our last show, we had all these entertainers, and we had hotel rooms for them. They came from Albuquerque. Almost every person who comes here, we put in hotels in Clovis, every one of our events. But I just pointed out the larger ones. And not only do we put them there, we also have to feed them, and we feed them locally.
Thank you.
I don't cook, though.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is the Wedding Expo at the Civic Center. Hi, Morgan.
First, thank you for funding the Pet Expo. It went really, really well. We did get the carpets clean, so the Civic Center is very clean right now. We did have vendors come in from Colorado and Arizona and Amarillo for that one, so we did see some people from out of town. Okay, so the Wedding Expo we are doing this year on February 26th. The last time we did it was 2020. It was one of our last big events that we did before we got shut down. We actually gave away a wedding. We got 2 people married at the Wedding Expo because it was Leap Day. It was Leap Day that year. We're basically asking for all the same things. We do a big wedding pamphlet that we give to all the brides and grooms that come in that feature local vendors, local places to stay, different event venues, even though they should come to the Civic Center, different catering businesses. Gail over here has the best rings in town. So, the only thing we did add is billboards. We did the billboards, I think, in 2019, and we got really, really good feedback. We had them outside of Lubbock, and I believe outside of Amarillo.
And Amarillo is outside of Hereford.
Hereford. And we got really good feedback with those as well. And I believe that is all. If you have questions.
Board, any
Same question I'm gonna ask, just so you guys all know, I'm gonna ask the same question. And it would be good to put it in here too. Anticipated from outside of the Clovis area, based on past history, as well as things you're doing different and what you expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Aloha, Ms. Tarzan, good to see you at a meeting. So when we do have these consumer shows at the Clovis Civic Center, we use iPads to do surveys. So obviously, when we first started, we had about a 6-question survey. A lot of people wouldn't take it; they would walk by us. With COVID, we've determined now it works really well to have volunteers to have the iPad and actually just ask the questions. At our Pet Expo, for example, it happened to happen on a day where there were multiple events, including the fantastic street concert on Main Street, as well as the Entrepreneur Expo. So there's no telling if they came into town just for our event. But from that, we had over 600 folks that came in the door and told us the 2 questions that we asked them. What is your zip code, and how did you hear about us? So we were able to get lots of data from that. From that, this over 600 folks that came in, 500 were from Clovis, meaning that 100 and so of those people that took our survey were from outside of Clovis. Okay. Additionally, as Morgan said, with that show, we know that we had 4 vendors who came in from outside of Clovis to stay the night. Previously, with our Wedding Expo, we do have a lot of vendors that come in from Texas, as Morgan had stated, mostly the little venues that are out there. So they want people to come and have their weddings in Texas, so they come here, bring all of their stuff, and because their stuff's here, they have to stay the night before they can move it back. With our holiday bazaar that we have coming up, we know that on Friday night we have 14 vendors coming in from out of town who will be here over the weekend. So we are able to track the number of hotel room nights based on the vendors that we have. And then additionally, like I said, asking the 2 questions, we're getting a bigger response from our surveys that we do at our events. And we are able to track people who are not from Clovis. But we stopped asking. It was very confusing. It was more confusing to explain to them, what's a room night? Because our direct question was, how many are you staying a room night in Clovis? So we've learned that making the question shorter gives us more responses to that survey. But we've been doing that since we started applying for lodger's tax in 2018. So I do have all that data. I did not bring it with me, but I'd love to share that with you just from our past events, and I can do that.
Okay,
And
thanks.
anyone else who would like to see that, I have shared it previously before. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what time is so it's a Saturday event. What are the times? Do you know at this point?
I believe we were doing a 12 to 1 as a VIP hour, so people can pre-register and come and kind of get a little bit more one-on-one time with our vendors. And then I think it was 1 to 5 for the general public. And we did that last year, 2020, and it worked really well. The first year we did a full day, and we got a lot of feedback from vendors that it was just too long of a day. So we shortened it, and that seemed to work really, really well.
And looking back on previous awarded amounts, it's been roughly 5,000 and 5,000 that was spent last year, 2020?
2020.
And then now we're closer to 10,000. Thought on what that is going to get you?
So again, that's adding in the billboard
Billboards.
campaign that we had done previously. We did not include the Wedding Expo in that previously, but I think that visual image of, a beautiful woman in a wedding dress from far away will definitely get people's attention, especially with the new Clovis City logo. We need to get that logo all over.
She's good.
So that it gets to the top of people's minds.
And then with the tracking that you're talking about, we'll have a better follow-up to know what the actual outcome, how the result was.
Yes,
with
and,
them.
and back to that, I mentioned that there were the 2 questions we asked, the zip code and then how people had heard about us.
Right.
Overwhelmingly, the majority of folks who answered our survey at the Pet Expo, I think it was 60%, heard about us on Facebook. So it's just what works here. We've done, I think it was Facebook, radio, print, and then we distributed posters. And that's another thing where whenever we're traveling, any of our folks travel out of town, we're putting posters everywhere. That's something that we hadn't done before. We always postered Clovis, but why not? If I'm in Albuquerque and I'm walking up and down Central, I stuck a bunch of posters at different vendors. So we actually had some responses for the Pet Expo ones that we put up in Albuquerque, and folks traveled because they saw it, at the pet store they were at. So just weird little grassroots items that are working for us.
So just a quick question. So you said that overwhelmingly, the majority of people saw it on Facebook.
Yes.
But you're only spending 600 on Facebook and a lot everywhere else. So-
Absolutely, and that's crazy enough. That's more than we spent on Facebook previously. With the Pet Expo, we did spend more than we had before. So, yeah, advertising is expensive.
Yeah, no, but my point is that if Facebook is where you're getting the biggest bang, wouldn't you want to put more focus of that money there? Just a consideration, it's just something that kind of stands out to me.
Absolutely. When we are doing these and trying to make these budgets, and maybe it's just me personally, I try to keep as much money local as I can, working with
sure.
the local advertisers and the local printers and things. So spending money on Facebook's kind of like a dagger in my heart because it doesn't stay local, but it's what people are on and what where they're seeing everything. And maybe that's just the first thing. And it was the first item on there. How did you hear about us? And if they didn't say immediately, we would list it, and Facebook was the first one. So it may just be the first thing they heard. Oh, yeah, I did see it on Facebook, so they said Facebook. So there's different, theories that could play into that as
Yeah,
well.
well, I do like the focus on local.
Absolutely.
I do
Yes,
appreciate
and
it.
that's
Thanks,
something that
Misty.
we've always focused on whenever we're putting together our
Yeah,
proposals.
thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good question. Anyone else? We're good. Thank you both. Thank you.
Are we next too, or?
If, we'll sit down and then we'll call you
Okay.
back up. Just joking, just joking. You're next, Morgan.
I was like, I can do that if
Yeah,
you need me
no,
to.
no, you're good. So,
Yeah, I was like, man, this snuck right in the middle of our application.
this time change is just, yeah. So, Spring Arts, Crafts, and DIY Show.
Yes, so the Spring Arts and Crafts and DIY show is the one show we do that we only allow handmade items in. For our holiday bazaar, it's kind of a mod. I mean, there's everything. There's gyms and direct sales companies and arts and crafts, where this one is really just arts and crafts. And the reason we do that is we did get feedback from a lot of the artisans that they want a show just for them. So that's really why we do that. And it is a 2-day show. We do get people from out of town. We have our pottery people that are here every time are from the other side of Albuquerque, but they don't miss a show. So they're always here. I think other than that, again, we added billboards into that one. I think that's the only difference. And then Facebook is a little bit more on that one too, because it is a 2-day show instead of just the 1 day with the Wedding Expo.
I won't ask the question again because I'm assuming it's going to be pretty much the same as, so thank
Yes.
you. Thank you in advance.
Times on this one, do you know?
I don't think we haven't sent out the vendor forms for it yet. Most likely it'll be 10 to 4. Those timeframes seem to really work. It's not too early, but also not too late. It also gives vendors a chance to set up that morning of if they need to, and then also get them tear down and home at a decent time.
Cool. Board, any questions?
Nope.
I do not have any either, so thank you on that one.
Thank you.
I have one more comment.
Oh.
I just wanted to invite everyone out to the holiday bazaar that we have going on at the Civic Center Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 4, sponsored by Salvage and Sparkle and the Lodgers Tax Board of Clovis, New Mexico. So thank y'all. Everybody who comes out gets a free gift, and admission is free as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Last up is DEM Performance Horses, original team roping.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Erin Montano, and this is Daniel Montano, and we are actually DEM Performance Horses and DM Productions. And we just recently had the opportunity to take over the Clovis District OTRA, which I know you are familiar with, the OTRA, as you guys have graciously helped the OTRA for the last several years, I believe 7 years. The OTRA is the original Team Roping Association. And we at DM Productions have been producing team ropings right here in your backyard in local Clovis, New Mexico. We live here in Clovis, and we have been promoting the sport of team roping now for 3 years, and been putting on events here. And so we had that opportunity when we were asked by Whitney and Tim McWright to take over the Clovis District this year. And so we are so pleased and honored to be able to have that opportunity and continue to grow the sport of rodeo and team roping and continue to promote the OTRA and grow it right here in our local backyard. So I want to give you a little brief history of the OTRA, as not everybody maybe is familiar with it. It actually began in 1987, and it was founded by Digger Howard, Kathy Chase, and S.E. Mayo, and it was later on sold to Mr. Tim and Whitney McWright in 2005. Tim and Whitney have made the choice. They sold their portion of it, although they will still be managing on the backside for a brief amount of time. They actually sold it out to a company who is actually one of the major sponsors for the NFR in 2021 moving forward. So those, I'm sure everybody is familiar with the National Finals Rodeo, which is held in Las Vegas, Nevada. And they are now one of the major sponsors. So a great opportunity. Yeah, Teton Ridge, sorry. I want to call them Timber Creek for some reason. It's Teton Ridge. So Teton Ridge is the organization who bought OTRA, and we're looking for some really exciting things as they help to promote the OTRA and really expand on it. And so the OTRA is held up of several different districts throughout Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. And so we're looking for some further progression of that as they expand, and with the backing of such a great company to be able to have that opportunity to see the OTRA grow throughout the United States. And so team roping is a pretty popular sport. It's something that, just to give you a little background, it takes a header and a healer, so a team. So when you see in a team roping, when you see people come and enter, it's not just a one-person entry. You're going to have, again, a header and a healer. And in most of these events that we've seen, we generally see about 200 to 300 entries in a team roping. Here, we've been having ropings right here in our backyard for the last 3 years, and we generally get about 200 teams at our ropings right in our backyard. And so we have a big following with DM Productions. We've actually given away a horse trailer. We've given away multiple saddles. And many other prizes. And so we have a pretty good following of people that come to see us from all over, not only the state of New Mexico, but Texas and Oklahoma as well. We've actually had people come in all the way from Louisiana as well and rope at our house, right in our backyard, so it's been kind of neat. So the opportunity for us to take over the Clovis District is really fun for us, that we're also going to get to see a lot more ropers coming in with the following of the OTRA. And so with the OTRA, also, again, we have 5 opportunities to have ropings here in Clovis with our district, particularly with the Clovis District. We're going to look at dates in December, in January, February, March, and our district finals will be held in May. And we've secured the location of the or the Curry County Civic Event Center, which we will be holding majority of the events. And when the weather is nice, we'll be actually taking those and doing those at DM Productions Arena right in our backyard. And so we are super excited to be able to have the opportunity to stand in front of you today and ask again that you continue to support us as you have Tim and Whitney McWright in the past with the OTRA. What we generally look at, again, like I said, with team roping, it's a team event. So not only are we going to have the competitors that come into the Curry County and Clovis, New Mexico area to compete at these events. They're going to get the opportunity to compete at the very first one in December. We're awarding a Scott Thomas saddle to the High Point money winner of the day. And that saddle, particularly, just to give you an idea, is a $1,200 saddle is what it costs to give away to those ropers. We're also going to be providing buckles to each ropings, and in that roping, we have a number 1 roping, a number 2 roping, a 2.5 roping, beginner roping, and a 3.5 slide. And I know those seem like kind of, what are those numbers and what do they mean? In team roping, and depending on the organization, a header and a healer both receive a rating. And so depending on their ability and their skills, they receive that rating, and it allows you to rope in a competitive level. So I'm not going to be competing. For instance, in the World Series scoring system, I am a number 3 header, and Daniel is a number 5 header. So we would have to, if we were roping in a number 9 team roping, we would have to find a partner to add up to the number 9. And OTRA's numbering is similar, but a little bit different in the fact that like a number 1 roping is kind of more of a beginner level, where a number 3.5 is a higher leveled roping. And so you're going to see your higher numbered ropers rope in a more competitive aspect where a beginner roper probably wouldn't be as competitive there. So we have these different ropings that will happen. We're going to be awarding gifts or prizes to each of those in December and as well as each following event. At the end of the district finals, we will give saddles to each of those individual ropings. So again, the beginner, the 1, the 2, or the 1.5, the 2, the 2.5, and the 3.5 slide. So this is where the funding that we have asked for, these are where the fundings will go to, not only in advertising and continuing to push out the OTRA, but also in the prizes, and to be able to give these ropers an opportunity to come for better prizes, and to draw in more ropers to come into the Clovis district. So just to also give you a little highlight, the OTRA, again, like I said, has many different areas that, in Texas and Oklahoma, as well as New Mexico. And so we're fighting against the Levelland district and the Amarillo district. So we want them all to come to the Clovis district. We want them to come into our community and not to those. So again, we have a pretty good following from areas of Levelland, Lubbock, Amarillo, and surrounding areas in Texas, Albuquerque, Belen, Los Lunas, Gallup. We have people that come all the way from Gallup to rope with us at our house. So we have a good name with DM Productions, and we want to continue that and push that through the OTRA. So we appreciate your time and listening to us and allowing us to stand before you today and to give you a little information about what the OTRA is and what our plans are, and with DM Productions to be able to continue the sport of team roping and to really grow it within the Clovis area.
Thank you, Aaron. I have a couple questions, but board, Gail, do you want to start off?
Well, I'm making an assumption, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of the folks you're expecting to attend are from outside the area.
Yes, majority of ours will be. There are, we have a decent amount of population within this area that rope, but majority of our ropers will be coming in from outside.
And then, of course, their families and,
Yes, consistently.
right.
And mind you, they'll be coming to each of the events because they have to make a certain amount of events to qualify for the district finals as well. And the other thing about that is that it's not, when they're trying not only qualify for our district finals, but the overall finals, which are actually held in Abilene, Texas every year. And those are in the end of June and in July, which they give away pickups, trailers. And actually, to win one of the ropings, you're looking at about $60,000 a team to win.
And these 5 events is over the period of this one
Yes,
event?
ma'am.
It's just over 5 days?
No, so they'll be held, December, January, February, March, and then our finals, or excuse me. May is ours, right?
Oh, you have,
Okay, June, okay, sorry.
But the funding we're looking at here is for just one of those 5
No,
events?
so it's actually for all 5 of our events that we're
Okay.
hosting here in Clovis for the Clovis district.
But
Yes,
they're over
ma'am.
5 different times?
Yes.
Events, gotcha, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And single-day events?
Yes, there'll be single-day events, but
Start
the thing
time?
is, the start time, so books will open at 8 a.m. So people will tend to come in the evening, the night before, and board horses. So we'll have horses stalled as well, so they'll be looking for places to eat. You'll also bring family members and friends with them. And we're hoping to promote and really allow and get some spectators in as well. The sport of rodeo is really big within this area, and so you tend to get quite a few that come to watch.
and being these popular events, they might be even here 2 nights before.
Yes, yeah, generally, and most likely, that's a very high possibility, because as I said, we're having that many ropings. Now, keep in mind, so we start with the number 1, then we follow with the beginner, and then we do the 2, the 2.5, and then the 3.5 slide. Each of those individual ropings will have upwards of 200 teams in each roping. Sometimes less, sometimes more, depending on how many entries we get. It takes a good couple hours to run 200 teams. So I get to talk a whole lot and get tired by the time at the end of the 3.5. So we could be roping potentially till 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So they're definitely going to be staying here.
Another
And yeah, they'll be here through the night, the next night.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Also, I think the most important or pertinent in this one is on your advertising and marketing plan. The majority of the funds are spent on awards and prizes.
Yes.
But in order to qualify for lodger's tax, we need you to spend 25% of it
On advertising.
advertising outside of Clovis.
Okay.
So your marketing plan at this point doesn't meet the criteria
Okay.
because we're not using those funds to advertise outside of it.
Okay.
So,
What?
is that not true?
Yeah, so 25% of your advertising funds have to be, go to outside the 50-mile radius. So if
Right.
they have
$100.
$100, then $25 have to be spent outside.
Oh, within each category?
Within
Just
just
the
the advertising
Just the
category.
advertising portion.
I misunderstood that too, so that's good to know. So just within the advertising dollars, 25% needs to be spent outside
Spent
of
on
our
advertising
Clovis
outside that
area.
50-mile radius, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I had the same question.
It's like I'm new to this thing.
Thanks, guys.
The task.
You eat too many tacos.
I know, I should stop. All right, so just within advertising.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Never mind.
It's okay, it's okay. Hey, I'll advertise more if I have to. No big deal, no big deal.
Might want to.
Second question was,
Well, go ahead, no, go ahead.
sorry.
No,
Are there funds carried over? No? Okay.
yeah, not that we were aware of, that, yeah, 2020, we weren't able to have, or Whitney and Tim weren't able to carry on the district in Clovis. And so it actually pushed a lot of the ropers to Texas, which we're grabbing them back, so. Again, and we have been producing team ropings here in our backyard at DM Productions Arena the entire time. We have an outdoor lighted arena. If you enjoy the sport of team roping, we have generally at least 2 to 3 team ropings every month at our house that we have. As I said, we've given away horse trailers, and we'll be continuing to promote those and doing the same thing here. So we continue to bring people within the Clovis, and like I said, we have a pretty decent following because they know our ropings. We award good prizes, and our payouts are good. And so generally, just to give you a little bit more background too, with a team roping, so there's a payout. And it's done usually on a percentile, so 70%, and then there's a stock charge that comes back to the producer to pay for the steers and the feed and the help and such of that nature. So generally, most ropings are a 70-30 split, and so these will be actually 65, 35. And what draws the ropers are the prizes.
The prizes.
Yep. So they want to come rope for money, and they want to come rope for good prizes, so.
Well, then you're marking, the budget follows that.
Yes, yes.
Good job. Yeah. And then the only other thing was requesting 10,000, but your marketing budget only adds up to 9160.
Yes, we would, the more we can get, the better prizes we can get, and the more draw they'll come in.
Okay.
We'd like to give even better prizes and bigger prizes if we could.
We're just kind of going off what they have, went off, like right now for this first open, I've already spent
2,000 in prizes alone, just for the first roping in December.
and I'm not even done, so.
Well, I got just one comment, Daniel. I think you're gonna have to switch the logo, though.
Yep. Your jacket logo.
Yeah, that's actually one he won, actually. So this is a jacket that he won from OTRA, not last year, but the year before, at the district finals, for the Amarillo district
Actually,
finals.
it's whenever they couldn't have it here and they moved it to her.
Yeah, they moved the Clovis rope in there when we couldn't do them here, so, yeah, he ended up winning the Clovis district
Awesome.
there.
Congratulations.
Good job. That's all I have.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you guys.
appreciate your help.
Appreciate it.
All right, that concludes the applications for tonight. Does anybody need a minute?
No.
Nope, good, all right. Let's start with the first request, force of one. I think my only thought is tripling the advertising plan. Seems like pretty high to me, and having a balance of 29,400. That's where I would start.
I agree.
Yeah. Thoughts on that?
Yeah.
So, we'll just go with the 29.4, the current balance that has been held over. Second application is Community College Cultural Arts Series. Any issue with fully funding at 3,060?
I support.
Good. All right, full fund on that one. Wedding Expo 2022. Asking 9550, and the additional funding coming, the request of the funding coming from the billboards.
What's the balance that we have to work with?
We're projecting 63,000 total for the remaining distributions for this year, for this fiscal year.
No,
Per, correct, per meeting.
per meeting.
So 63,000.
For this total allotment, which we've already basically said we'll give almost 30,000 of it away to,
That doesn't include, that's
Doesn't it?
already
Because they
budgeted.
okay,
Carry
so
over.
that's, okay, gotcha.
Good question, that was my. So, that leaves roughly 27,000. And I think the only question is it, we feel comfortable with the numbers that are on the paper?
So 9550 seems high to me for an expectation of 750. And of those 750, you're not all gonna come from outside.
The total amount last year.
Yeah. So last year was spent was 5,000.
Yeah, they asked for 6.
So, thoughts on it?
No, I agree with you guys, just sticking with closer to the 5,000 and not doing it.
Until we can see some of those results and some of the tracking of what we're getting from outside.
So do you want to go 5,000, 6,000, 7,000?
6?
6,000? DIY Arts and Crafts, this is a 2-day, requesting 72.5. And again, the addition is billboards,
Boards, yeah.
and previous award was almost 6,000.
I know the billboards look nice, but are we gonna, I mean, they can stay there for a year. Is that how long the contract is when you get a billboard?
Well, the way that this contract, can you hear me? The way that this contract will work is
You're the worst.
My hearing aid is not working.
so as these two events are back to back, we would be renting the billboard for those months.
Okay.
And then we would
Right.
switch the design.
Okay. Makes
So-
sense.
And then I have more events after that, so when I come back, if the billboards fly, I'll be all, hey, guess what? We want to extend the billboards, so,
So they work
That's
with you,
gonna
the
happen.
company works with you and?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay,
yes, it's who we worked with previously.
all right.
Okay.
And they're where? Tell me again.
The billboards were, one was right outside of Lubbock, and I can't think of the turn or the little city. The other one was, what was it? Littlefield, right outside of Littlefield, at the turn going from Littlefield into Lubbock. And the other was driving from Amarillo into Clovis, inside of Hereford.
Okay.
Okay.
6,000, 7,000,
I say 6.
6,000? Gail? So, all right,
sounds good.
6,000 on that one. And the final one, the original team roping.
I think this is the only one that really qualifies for generating room nights, bringing people from
know they are.
outside, so
Fully fund,
fully fun.
10,000?
Well, the budget
Chair-
isn't that, yeah.
So they said, so can we do that?
Well, the total on the requested sheet showed 9160.
Right.
And the total request was 10,000.
Right.
And so, which the 9160 breaks down about $1,800 per event. And so if you fully fund them at the 91, first we need clarification, do they want 10, or do they want 9160?
They want
Math's
10.
easier
They had
on
mentioned additional, any additional money would just go to prizes.
Right. And so, and the math is a lot easier. 10 divided by 5 is 2,000 each. And so, it would break down to about $2,000
Siri,
per
yeah,
event.
Siri just did that for me.
Yeah.
We did it a long time ago
did it
on
a
our
long time ago.
It was
calculators.
pretty, it was,
Faster than
9160
Siri.
divided by 5 is 1863, so
Oh, my gosh.
1832, I'm sorry.
jeepers. So fully funded, 10,000.
I'd like to, yeah.
Thanks, Justin. All right. Way to keep it short and sweet. So, applications have been reviewed. Do we do a total at this point?
So it's 25,060 additional lodger's tax dollars.
Okay. So, do I have a motion to approve all the recommendations?
I'll second.
Ooh, who got the first one?
LaShawn.
Man. LaShawna with the first and Gail with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And this motion is carried. For the good of the order, before we end the meeting, is there anything that anyone else would like to discuss?
I just want to mention the 6,300 is the total capacity for the
Oh,
event
6,300,
center.
okay. So we're looking for the next request to say 6,300. That would be awesome.
Well, it's-
I think it's, people are excited to do something. So, I think it's going to be good. All right, there being no further business to discuss, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.